Sada smarami hridi samsfuradaatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramahamsa gatim turiyam Yaswapna jagara sushuptamavaiti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha. I constantly meditate within my heart on the self-effulgent Atman, the existence, knowledge, bliss absolute, the goal of the great ascetics, the transcendent and the eternal, who is beyond the states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. And verily that indivisible Brahman, a not a combination of material elements. So this is our last study of Atmabodha. It dealt with the philosophy of Advaita, and it showed us that we are the eternal subjects and not objects. It analyzed the whole psychophysical system and the universe outside and pointed out, just as the universe is an object of perception, so is our body, mind, intellect, and the ego, everything, and pointed us to the eternal subject. In the last few verses, the scripture has been pointing to us again and again. That is Brahman. That is Brahman. Because I can't say this is Brahman. This means the one manifested universe. That is Brahman means something which is not given to our sense perception or sense grasping, but at the same time, something behind which one needs to intuit. So the scripture gives us a hint. So yet another hint is given in this verse 61, because totally there are 68 verses in this. Now we are studying verse 61. And in every, this few verses in the last talk, the scripture dealt with this idea that this is Brahman, this is Brahman. So in the same refrain, it is, oh, sorry. Have you started? Oh. No, this is not the one. Bhasa. 60, put it, because we differ, Robert. We differ. Oh, that's fine. Okay. Yad bhasa bhasater kadhe bhasye yettu na bhasyate yena sarvamidam bhati tad brahmetyavadharayet. Realize that to be Brahman, by the light of which luminous orbs like the sun and the moon are illumined, but which cannot be illumined by their light, and by which everything is illumined. So as to what Brahman is, this is an explanation, that this is an hint the text is giving us. Brahman is that whose light shine, with whose light the sun shines, but which is not illuminated by those illuminated objects. It is the light of the self by which the sun is also being illuminated. We know the sun had a birth and it will have a death. One fine day, our sun will die. So that which has a beginning and an end cannot be eternal. That is also temporal. For some time it is there. And time is a very big concept. And that which is not independent cannot be self-effulgent. We claim the sun to be self-effulgent. No. He is also borrowing his power from the supreme reality. So in the verse 28, long back, we had studied the text Stotras, that the Atman alone is a self-luminous reality within us. And everything other than the self is inert. In the sense, the sense organs, the mind, the intellect, all of them. Because even mind is subtle matter, which is a product of Prakriti. Hence, none of them are self-effulgent. Their luminosity, their consciousness is borrowed. Just as the moon's light is the reflected rays of the sun, so also the consciousness is reflected in the buddhi, the mind, the intellect, and the sense organs, everything. Hence, it seems to be very conscious. We say, living person. Even prana, life force, will be inert if the grace of the consciousness is not there. The very life force wouldn't be there if consciousness doesn't grace. So in this 61 verse, the 28 was microcosm. It dealt with our body, psychophysical organism. It analyzed and showed us, which is a conscious principle in this whole, psychophysical organism. Here, in the 61, it's dealing with the macrocosm. Here it is taught that the so-called cosmic luminaries, such as sun, moon, are also inert. And the source of light, and their source of light is self. We have the famous shloka in the Kathopanishad and the Mundakopanishad. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, mema vidyuto bhati, utoyam agnihi, tameva bantham anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. There the sun does not shine. There means in the self, nor the moon and the stars, nor these lightnings, and much less this fire. When he shines, everything shines. By his light, all this is lighted. Hello. Swayamantarbahirvapya bhasyannakhilam jagat bhasayannakhilam jagat brahma prakashate vahne prataptaya sapindavat. The Supreme Brahma pervades the entire universe, outwardly and inwardly, and shines of itself, like the fire that permeates a red-hot iron ball, both inwardly and outwardly, and shines of itself. So in and out is for the sake of expression. As far as truth is concerned, reality is concerned, it's one homogeneous, all-pervading entity. It has neither inside nor outside. But for the sake of understanding, this has been taught in this way. Here, the analogy of red-hot iron is given in order to show that the real luminosity is in the self and not apparently in the apparently shining lights. So the iron ball, when sufficiently heated, it glows. The fire permeates within and outside. and it shines. And we know that iron is cold and dull element. It's the heat which gives its light and the warmth. And the heat pervades in and out of the ball, iron ball. In the same way, similarly, Brahman pervades the entire universe, inside and outside. Ota protha permeates in and out. And because of ignorance, nescience, we attribute that awareness. Shining means here, it signifies awareness, consciousness. That's the only one, because the nature of consciousness is to reveal, bhati. So it reveals, it shines. Hence, we become aware of it. But due to ignorance, we attribute it to the matter. And we think the sun glows, he is self-effulgent, the body works. Body is a living entity, it's a conscious being. But these consciousness, the scriptures are trying to tell us, these consciousness are borrowed consciousness. If not, at the death of a person, everything is inert. We carry our body, but at certain stage, somebody has to carry it. Why? Because consciousness is not there in it. Chaitanya is not there. Hence, it is inert. Jagad vilakshanam brahma, brahmanonyana kinchana, brahmadyad bhati chen mithya, yatha marumarichika. Brahman is other than universe. Very carefully we have to understand this. Brahman is other than universe. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. See how contradictory it is. Brahman is other than the universe, right? But there exists nothing that is not Brahman. If any object other than Brahman is there, appears to exist, if we think something independent, real, if we think, then it is unreal, like a mirage. So the world is very different from Brahman, or Brahman is very different from the world. Either way. Other than Brahman, there's nothing. Two contradictory terms. It's not contradictory. We need to analyze it, understand. For this, we need to understand what is real and what is unreal. We have been discussing this quite a number of times. According to Advaita, real is defined as an entity that is not changed by time, not limited by space, not subject to causality. That which is unreal is subject to time, space, and position. This is the difference. That which was, that it which is, and that which will be is the reality. In contrast, look at the body. It wasn't there, it came into existence. It's there for some time, it will not be. Hence, that cannot be real. This is the line of reasoning. So the person endowed with the right knowledge sees everything as Brahman. If a person has realized his true nature, and he understands the nature of the world also, because what is within is outside. The same reality, as I told you, reality is one, infinite, homogeneous. There's neither inside or outside. What is inside? If I realize myself as pure consciousness, and the same pure consciousness I will perceive outside too. So for a man of realization, for a person of realization, everything is nothing but Brahman. And what appears to us, this manifold universe, is realized as consciousness, Brahman, by the wise. How? Akhanda Advaya Brahma, indivisible, non-dual consciousness, which cannot, there is no parts that I am Atman, you are Atman, she is Atman, he is Atman. It's not parts. One infinite reality is pervading here within all of us, and it goes outside, pervades everywhere. Only we are not able to perceive it. But the thing is, this multiplicity, being an illusion, does not defile Brahman. For example, the Atman within me can never be defiled by all my actions, thoughts, or anything. It is entirely distinct from this. How? That has been explained through this imagery of desert and mirage. Just as a single drop of, a single grain of sand is not wet by the water of the mirage. We see, when we see the mirage, desert, see the mirage. An ignorant person may think it's a sheet of water. It's a delusion. And once delusion sets in, you can see anything you want. We know, we have got the very good example of Swami Vivekananda. When he was walking through the Western India, Kutch, Bhuj, all these places, dry land, desert land. And the Swami was thinking, how strange, these people call this desert. Look at this beautiful greenery, the sparkling water, how wonderful. And days after days, he was enjoying the scenery and going. But at night, he used to walk 25 to 30 kilometers a day, and then he would halt in some village somewhere the next day again. So that's how throughout the length and breadth of the country, he went and had the first-hand experience of the nation. And so the next day, he started walking and then felt thirsty. So went to have a drink in the pool. Gone. Immediately it vanished. And he felt himself ashamed. He, such a man, knowing man, to be fooled by this mirage all his life. He had read about it, and yet he became victim to this illusion. So that's a fact. I have never been to a desert, so I have no idea. All my knowledge of desert is from the books and Swamiji, of course. And if this can happen, see the water sparkling and the shade of the trees on it, all these delusions. But it was utter delusion, nothing but delusion. All the while he was seeing the dry desert. And the delusion was there. And this delusion, this water of the mirage, it cannot wet even a single grain. The same way, whatever be the action, whatever be the janmantara, ignorance and actions and karmas and impurities, whatever it is, nothing can defile my true nature. That's a very positive thing. If we take a stand on ourselves and we fight the ignorance and get rid of this notion that we are body, mind, and intellect. This is the biggest task, very hard task, and not a pleasant one. As Aldous Huxley was telling us, we would better be happy with our illusion, hug our illusion, because it's very painful to get self-knowledge. He was very right. And so, just as the sand cannot, mirage water cannot wet the sand, so also the ignorance cannot defile, cannot do anything to our true nature. And this ignorance, this mirage is illusion, so is ignorance. Ignorance is also an illusion. However, the ignorance, the world may pose itself to be all important, it is an illusion. How? With the rise of knowledge, ignorance is destroyed. As I said, anything that has a beginning, anything that has an end is not real. It is a limited something. It is something accident that has happened. And it will go away. So that is the greatest positive thing about it. And with the dawn of knowledge, the ignorance goes off. And it is just an illusion. So we do not make too much of this world. It's very easy to speak, but when the crucial time comes, it's very hard. But this knowledge will help us. Sri Ramakrishna says, it's not that overnight you're going to become Brahmagnani. No, it's not. Rome was not built in a day. Hence, it takes time. But then, Sri Ramakrishna says, Shune rakha bhalo. It is good to hear and keep. At times, it will help. Oh, I had heard that. Even an intellectual understanding, it will give us strength. Of course, if we work on it, it will be very strong. It will become a conviction. The intellectual knowledge will become a conviction, and the conviction will become one day the reality. But then it is good to hear and keep. That's the good thing about it. That's the good thing about studies of the scriptures. Drishyate shruyate yad yad brahmano na tad bhavet tattva jnanacha tad brahma satchidanandamadvayam. All that is perceived, all that is heard is Brahman and nothing else. Attaining the knowledge of reality, one sees the universe as the non-dual Brahman, existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. So if there is nothing other than Brahman in reality, then whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we think, all that should be Brahman. Even the mirage is seen when we see the mirage. Actually, what are we seeing? We are seeing the desert. No desert, no mirage. When we see the mirage, it is the desert that we see. So when we see this universe, this multiplicity, we see Brahman alone. It's only when Brahman graces on this, then things shine. Things bhati, asti, bhati, priya. Brahman is there. It manifests itself, it shines itself as universe. And that is why we get joy. He said, the bliss of illusion. Aldous Huxley was telling. So we prefer the bliss of illusion, the joy of illusion. We hug illusion because that also is blissful, because the blissful Atman is under. It is the adhisthana, it's the substratum on which this illusion is. Hence, illusion also looks, who can deny this, that this world doesn't give joy? This world gives joy. That's why people are here. We enjoy this world. If that raso vaisaha, that blissful one was not there, who would have enjoyed this world? It would have been nothing but dead, dull matter. So we know that plurality is seen only due to ignorance. And one thing we should know, consciousness is fundamental. It's consciousness that presides over, and it lends its potentiality to all our activities. Our sense organs functions, our mind functions, our intellect functions, all, be it in the microcosm, our psychophysical organism, or the universe outside. Everything must be graced by this one essential thing, that is the consciousness. Swami Turiyananda used to say, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, he started his spiritual life as Brahma Satyam Jagad Mithya. Brahman is real, world is unreal, which is the Advaitic philosophy. That's the essence. In some unknown source attributed to Shankara or what I do not know, it says, Shlokardhena pravakshami yeduktam grantha kotibhihi brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva naparaha. In half a sentence, I will explain to you what has been explained in the crores of texts. What is it? Brahman is real, the world is unreal. This is Advaitic. But Turiyananda Maharaj, being the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, was a Vijnani. He had special knowledge. People have, a Brahmagnani has knowledge. But Sri Ramakrishna emphasized Vijnana, which I mustn't talk about in this class, because this is an Advaitic class. I shouldn't go beyond the margin. But so when he was passing away, he said, Brahma Shatta, Jagat Shatta, Jagat Brahme Pratishtita. Brahman is real. Brahman is real. When we say, we only explain the text, but it was a matter of experience. The all-pervading consciousness was a matter of experience for him. Here it is. It is this. And Jagat Satya. One more thing, he said something very, very, what do you call, for an Advaitic person, it must be an alarming sentence. Jagat Satya. World is also real. How? Because the world is established in Brahman. The very substratum, the very support, very adhara is Brahman. If that is not there, the world, we wouldn't even see the world. We wouldn't be here. The manifested universe is nothing but Brahman. This is a very, very higher reality, highest reality. Sri Ramakrishna, for the present age, you cannot deny the world, but you can know the world in its true essence. So you cannot be, say the world is unreal, be indifferent to the world. There are monks for whom Vedanta has become escaping ideology. It's not an escapism. That is why when Swamiji saw that so many poor people, even the monks suffering, the other monks would say, no, we have nothing to do with him, because the world is unreal. The body is unreal. The person is suffering. You become so hard. But Vedanta tells, it is not indifference. Vedanta teaches us detachment, but it doesn't teach us indifference. There's just two things are different. Detachment and indifference are two different things. A detachment is a matured understanding. Indifference is ignorance. It is tamasic. Hence, we need to, in this age, so Sri Ramakrishna taught this Vijnana. Well, this world is unreal, but its reality is established in Brahman. Sarvagam Satchidatmanam Jnana Chakshurnirikshate Ajnana Chakshurenekshat Bhasvantam Bhanum Andhavat. See, though Atman is reality and consciousness, Satchit, and ever present everywhere, yet it is perceived by the eye of wisdom alone. But one whose vision is obscured by ignorance does not see the radiant Atman, as the blind do not see the resplendent sun. So all the knowledge, relative knowledge, the empirical knowledge that we get it only through the equipments. What are the equipments? The sense organs. The eyes see, the ears hear, the nose smells, the skin touches. all the impressions, all the knowledge we get. How do we know the fire is hot? We touch, we feel. So the skin tells us that it is hot, this is cold. So knowledge comes through the sense organs, mind, and intellect. These are the equipments. But these equipments are not sufficient. They're insufficient when it comes to the knowledge of Brahman. Why? These are all created. When we say we are self-sufficient, the world is self-sufficient, the mind and intellect is self-sufficient, then what we are doing, we are actually putting the cart before the horse. The cart is pulled by the horse, a living entity. The cart is a matter, but there should be a conscious entity, something to pull the horse. So to take for granted the body, mind, intellect in itself is self-sufficient is to put the cart before the horse. All these equipments fail. Then how are we to realize the Brahman? These are the only instrument. Whatever you have to know, we have to know only through this instrument. But if these very instruments fail me, what am I to go for recourse? That is by intuition. Through the faculty of intuition, that is called as Jnana Chakshu. We know Sri Krishna gave Divyam Dadami Te Chakshu. I'll give you the divine eyes through which you will see my Aishwarya Yoga. He gave. That's why he could see the Vishwarupa, universal form of Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is an intuitive faculty. We can see, when we see anything, it is Brahman alone, as I said so many times I have said, and because these few sentences are repeated, the same thing Shankara is repeating in as many ways, because scriptures are very hard to understand. So repetition is a necessary here. It's not a mistake. In other literature, repetition is a mistake. You don't have much ideas, you keep repeating the same thing. But in scriptures like this, repetition is not an error, because it's a subtle reality, hard to comprehend. So the scriptures try it again and again to put the same idea in so many ways. Here also, when we see anything, it is Brahman alone. But why is it that it doesn't recognize, we don't recognize it, it doesn't go into our head? That's because it's enveloped by ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Ajnanena vritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Knowledge is enveloped by ignorance. How strange, you see? Knowledge, which is powerful. It's the very nature of Brahman. And ignorance is a finite thing, which has no, which is a product of Prakriti, can hide the Atman. How is it? Look at this sun, such a huge sun. A small speck of cloud hides. A cloudy day, we say sun is not there. Is it true that the sun is not there? Immense is the sun's size. And a small speck of cloud can hide it. So it's our ignorance that hides this infinite reality. So there is a bright sun illumining the whole quarters, but a blind person cannot see it. It's his limitation, his or her limitation, that obscures the light, the shining of the sun. Otherwise, it is always. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, it says, the self is not grasped by the eyes or words, nor perceived by the senses, nor revealed by scriptures or rituals or penance. Nothing. When the understanding becomes calm and clear and refined, now it's all gross. When the understanding becomes refined, subtle, and in that meditation, the self is revealed. For that, we need to practice the subtlety. Constantly, if we engage our intellect and mind in gross things, gross it shall be. The more and try to understand subtle things, subtle reality, our mind also gets the capacity to perceive subtle things. That is what is being told. Shravana debhiruddipta jnanagne paritapita jiva sarvamalan mukta sarva swarnavadyotate swayam. The jiva, free from impurities, being well heated in the fire of knowledge, kindled by hearing and so on, shines of himself like gold. So the course the Advaita Vedanta prescribes for the self-knowledge, to know ourselves truly, is very simple. Sravana, manana, nididhyasana. These are the 3 steps. Sravana, hearing of the scriptures through an illumined teacher, through proper guidance. The scriptures, sometimes their sentences are so crisp, it's very hard to understand. So you need somebody to interpret. That your teacher does it. So an illumined person will teach and we hear it. Sri Ramakrishna says, better than reading is hearing. Because when you read, a lot of things you have to read. But when you hear, somebody has prepared for it. Take away food, like how we go to cook is very difficult. So okay, take away the food. It's very easy. Hence, Shravana is very important. And then comes reflection of the truth, what you heard, with the aid of reasoning, helpful reasoning. One cannot reason as one likes. Our reasoning should be consistent. Our reasoning should not be distorted by our self-interest. So our reasoning should be consistent to the scriptural, what the scripture says. It should be very scientific, very convincing. It should convince all the 3 H, head, heart, and hand. That's the proper reasoning. So if intellect is satisfied, it's emotionally satisfying, and you will feel that you can do something. So this sort of all your faculties, you can direct it towards your sadhana. And with these 2, that is Shravana and Manana, what happens is we get the knowledge that I'm not what I seem to be, I'm something different. And what is that? I am pure consciousness. Sat Chit Ananda. That's my real nature. We get an idea. We first hear. It's very startling. We are amazed to hear. Then we reason it out. And then, oh, it makes sense. Yeah. Then we think over it again and again. We reason and we reflect on the pros and cons of what we have heard. And then we get a conviction. And what do we get actually? We get what's called a technical term is vritti jnana. Vritti jnana is, it's a modification of mind. Now, what is the modification of mind in us? We know everything under the sun except ourselves. We know quantum physics, we know everything in the world except ourselves. That is, those are the vrittis that are there. These vrittis has to be steadily cleared. And we have to give prajna samskaras. New neural paths have to be made, as you discuss in your spiritual evenings. The prajna samskaras and a strong impression that I am not matter, I am spirit. And that vritti should become so strong that every other vritti, every other modification should be what do you call? Subordinate to this. So all our actions, whatever we do in this world, everything should be subordinate to our spiritual life. If something is obstructing, it's a hindrance to our spiritual life, we should have that strength and push it aside. Anything that is not conducive to my spiritual life, I should have that strength to push it back. That is the conviction we get through sravana and manana. And when the sravana and manana is done very seriously, very sincerely, there comes one idea, morning and evening, sitting or dreaming, whatever it is, our spiritual life, our spiritual nature becomes prominent. It becomes all-absorbing. That means we have succeeded in creating a strong, single vritti, samskara. And what does that vritti do? What that modification do? It just wipes off all other modifications. All other impurities are gone from the mind. There's only one pure, one idea, that is, I am Brahman. It's also an idea. It's not an experience. It is a vritti jnana. It's not a swarupa jnana. It's not my real nature. I have not got still the experience. But there's one vritti, because only an illusion can kill an illusion. This vritti is a modification. And what do I have in mind? There are also modifications. And they also belong to the unreal world. So hence, this modification has the capacity to destroy the other modification. And then what does it do? That modification also dies off. The example given is, in India, in the olden days, they used to burn the bodies with wood and things, with wood. And they will take a long stick and they will keep on clearing the ashes on the top of the body. And almost everything is finished. What do you do with that stick? We just put that stick in the fire. That is also burnt. In the same way, that one vritti, I am Brahman, I am pure consciousness, I am Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. This idea is so strong that it removes all other, I am the body, I am the mind, I am a woman, I am a man, I am an Indian, I am a black man, all this nonsense goes, and only one thing remains. And that just dissolves. When the ignorance is gone, when the cloud is gone, the knowledge, the Atman, which is like a sun, the next shloka says. And that, this one, it's overpowered. It literally goes off. Another example, I don't know how far you remember, we had learned in the fifth shloka of this. In India, they use purifiers for water. Those days they used to use river water. So for that, they put nirmali, which purifies. It's a kataka fruit. They just nicely rub it and they take the paste and put it in the water. And it gets crystal clear water will flow. And you ask what happened to that nirmali? It's also something, it has come outside. What did happen to it? It just dissolves itself. In the same way, here one modification called I am pure Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma. I'm ever pure, infinite, free self. This one idea will remove all the ignorance and the self is manifested. So that is what is and how. Just like how the gold is gold, whether it is with the dirt or whatever it is. When the ore comes, we clear it and then it is melted. Once it's melted, the molten gold and poured, it shines. In the same way, when everything, all the impurities are gone, what remains is the self, which just shines itself. You can see the very face of the person. There's an aura that we see, a light around, something like that. Hridakashodito hyatma bodha bhanustamopahrit sarvavyapi sarvadhari bhati bhasyate bhasayate akhilam. Everything is See, the Atman, the same thing is being repeated. I'm not going to go into details of this shloka, just we read the meaning. Atman, which is the sun of knowledge, arises in the firmament of the heart and destroys the darkness, the pervader of all, because the Atman is all pervading and sustainer of all. And it illumines and also itself. Sustainer is just like the desert is for the mirage. The rope is for the snake. No rope, no snake delusion, no desert, no mirage delusion, and no Brahman, no world delusion. So Brahman is always there. So for the world, Brahman has to be there. The very fact the world exists is God exists. It should be a good dose for those people who, the atheists who deny, agnostics, for them it is. No world, no Brahman, no world. If world is there, Brahman is there, God is there. Just a funny incident. Our General Secretary Maharaj of Belur Math, Swami Madhavananda. One day he went somewhere and his assistant or secretary had given him a basket, things like that anyway. When he came back, he brought an empty basket. Empty basket, he brought it back and gave it to the secretary. And then his secretary opened, oh, it's empty. Then the Swami said, no, Brahman is there. The very fact you perceived emptiness is that Brahman is there. You see, even for fun, you talk about it. So unconsciously, these ideas will sink in and they will be of great help for us in times of need. This last shloka is in praise. This has got a little bit different tune. The meter is different. Digdesha kalyadanapeksh sarvagam शीतादिः नित्यसुखं निरञ्जनं यस्वात्मतीर्थं भजते विनिष्क्रियः स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो अमृतो भवेत् स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो अमृतो भवेत्. Om Tat Sat. This is the last shloka of the text, and it is in praise of the Atmabodha, the self-knowledge, and a person who has this knowledge. Pious people undertake pilgrimages. We all go. Some go, it's a very mean to get the merits. Punya, punyarjana, that's very important. That's for the next life they want. So that's the very, other than that, people do go to pilgrimages to absorb the spiritual vibrations of the place. That's a noble. But to go to the pilgrimages is also a very arduous act involving hazards and hardships. First is time, place, distance, all is this. That's what the book says. He who renouncing all activities, nishkriya, worships in the sacred and stainless shrine of Atman, which is independent of time, place, and distance, which is present everywhere, which is the destroyer of heat and cold and other opposites, and which is the giver of eternal happiness, becomes all-knowing and all-pervading and attains hereafter immortality. So there are two types of pilgrimages, outward and inward. The outward pilgrimage, it does help us. It does help. In the early stages of life, we do practice. Sri Ramakrishna speaks of Bahudaka and Putichaka. Bahudaka means one who drinks, bathes in lot of different waters. Go have a dip in every river, Yamuna, Ganga, Sarayu, Gandaki, whichever you want. Everywhere go, take the dip. And within us is flowing the river of self-knowledge. To take a dip in it is the inward journey. Pilgrimage, shrines, we go shrines also, they say tirtha. Tirtha also is rivers and tanks. And time, place, distance is involved, weather, so many hazards are there. And then you have robbers, accidents, our own health issues, so many things which will not allow us to absorb completely whatever is there. Many things are there. Its help is very little, very meager. But if one can sit and contemplate and realize oneself, the truth within, then that will be wonderful. And as I said yesterday, we were discussing, in Bengali, there is a saying, Ghure baro, ghare boshe tero, jodi korte paro. Going out, if you get 75%, you will get at home 100%, provided you are able to do it. So what we get from outside is very little, but what we really work on ourselves, that is ours. And to work on yourself, you don't need to go anywhere. We can stay here within our place and do all that. So when we resort to the holy waters of the self, which is free from all these disadvantages, then immense is the result. Atma is all-pervading, hence no problem of distance is involved. You don't have to book a ticket and go. There you are. You are within yourself. We can go. And once when we realize our true nature as the Atman, then it's not that we will not feel cold or heat, but we are not disturbed by it. We are not overwhelmed by it. That's the difference. As long as the body is there, heat and cold will be there. But that will not disturb our peace. That will not overwhelm us. It will not put us out of our balance. That's the great thing. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, what's the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee? Is it because you become a devotee, you'll be free from all the troubles? No, sometimes God tests us more. We were far better before, even without becoming a devotees. After becoming devotees, we are all the more having troubles, one may say. Because God tests, like how, what's her name? Avila. She said, Saint Teresa of Avila. She said, she had a big accident. She was going to do Christ's birth, and she had a big accident. Poor lady. And she was brought to some inn, and she was lying there. And then he came. Christ, hello, what's the matter? You're lying here. You know, this is how I test my devotees. And she sharply said, that's why you have very few friends. If you were a bit sympathetic, you would have got more. Just because they have become your friends, you start troubling them and doing all that. And that's why no wonder. Because, the path to, as Aldous said, path to self-knowledge is very painful. So we prefer the joy of illusion. So this is what happens. But once, when we go in, this is the advantage. The devotee may get the troubles, but what happens is, as I was telling about that, a devotee also gets the trouble, and a non-devotee also gets. A non-devotee will be thrown off his balance. But whereas the devotee will have a jerk, but he will quickly steady. That resilience will be there. He'll come back. He'll be steady. A few jolts he will have. Anyone who comes to this world has to have. Christ had, Ramakrishna had, and what to speak of ourselves. Who are we? So naturally we will have it. But this will be a great aid. It will not push us off our feet. That's the advantage. And once we have attained that, we have that supreme joy. Happiness is there. So this is the assurance what the scriptures give us. So to recapitulate, I don't have much time. I took long time for this. Anyway, the first very shloka had told, Tapovi kshina papana. This Atmabodha is being explained or taught to persons who are, he has composed, Shankaracharya has composed this Atmabodha to serve the needs of those who have been purified through the practice of austerities. Tapas. What is tapas? Tapas purifies us. How? What is tapas? Concentration of the mind and the senses. Manasascha indriyanam aikagram is tapas. So what we do is we bring our body and mind to a certain tension, which is essential. That is what it is. And there is a peace in the heart. When we progress, Shanta Rajasam, Sri Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita. Shanta, Rajas is there, but it has become Shanta. It is not agitative, so agitative as it was before. Because through the practice of tapas, it has become comparatively calm. So we are able to work on it. This is one thing. So this is what. And then the shloka of 28 to 42 is very, very essential. The first shloka, in the few shlokas the before, it speaks of the philosophy, it analyzes our psychophysical organism, that's all fine. But the proper sadhana or the scriptural practice, spiritual practices, it starts from verse 28 to 42. It gives us the thought for our reasoning and how to practice through meditation. The Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it takes the help. And both way, we will be able to get for what we have worked on. Swamiji says, each soul is potentially divine. The purpose is to get, it's only potential. It is not fully manifested. To manifest this, we take the help of everything. Karma, jnana, bhakti, take everything, doesn't matter. And go forward. That's the essence. And this is what the Atmabodha has been trying to convey to us. Thank you.
There's time for some questions and answers. Yes, Stephen.
I think it was verse 60.
Oh,
And I was wondering about the,
60?
yes,
Yeah, the first one. Yes. Robert, can you put that? I find it difficult to put.
the metaphor
Mm.
of Brahman being an iron ball, red hot iron ball. Is it, no, is that, was before that, I think.
Yeah,
I just don't understand that because you need a lot of heat in order for the ball to be red hot. Surely the sun would be a better metaphor.
Well,
it's otherwise it's finite.
no, the sun, we do not know. We haven't seen a stage where the sun will become cool. We haven't seen it. But the iron ball is a concrete example. We know that iron ball iron in itself is cold and dull. We have learned it, our science has told us, but it is not given in experience for us that our sun will die. We won't be here to witness the sun dying. So that is why they haven't given that example. For all purposes, sun is a self-effulgent, is a source of light. For the universe, for the whole universe, sun is the source of light. So we cannot think of sun being cool or anything. Whereas the iron example given is it becomes hot and afterwards it becomes cold. That means the heat, what it got was derived from something else. But we do not know the source of sun. Do we know the source of sun? The scriptures tell the source of sun's light is Brahman, God himself to be. But whereas we do not know that, but we know when an iron is put in the fire, it gets heated up. And that way, this example is, it's to make us understand that what we think that ephemeral things are self-sufficient, they are not. So That is the purpose of this shloka.
Other question 65, in verse 65,
Mm.
is the payoff by being pure as the jiva supreme happiness?
Yeah. Through the jiva free from impurities, being well heated in the knowledge of the self, kindled by the knowledge of, because by hearing all the sravana manana, shines of himself like gold. So the gold is always gold. It always shines. The ore was obscuring. And when that ore is removed, when the dross is removed from the gold, its natural shine of the element, metal, is revealed. In the same way, the Atman, which is pure, effulgent, all-knowing, is covered by ignorance. What is ignorance? The idea of I and mine. I. This is ignorance. It's a sheath, causal body. It's a sheath. That ignorance is removed through the study of the scriptures, by reflection, and through meditation. That what was obscuring the knowledge, what was obscuring the self is removed. The self shines. Like how I said, the sun being so vast, so immense, it can be hidden by a speck of cloud. Just a speck of cloud can hide it. In the same way, ignorance, though it is finite, it's a product of Prakriti. It's covering the all-powerful, all-knowing, eternal self, the Atma. And that is why we are here, like human beings, working out our sadhana. But if we are eternally free, why are we doing all this sadhana? Because we do not know that we are eternally free. And that is why we are working. If that was not there, you will not have the motivation for the sadhana. And that is, and who will be there to teach us the scriptures? So there's a validity of ignorance. A little bit of ignorance is not there. Who will come and tell the scriptures, teach us the scriptures? If everybody becomes Brahman and gives up the body in 21 days, then who is there to teach us? There is something else to it. So this ignorance, once removed, we understand our true nature, and we are blessed, we are happy, we are fulfilled. Contentment comes. I think that's what the scripture says. Anything else?
Back to verse 61, I suppose, following on from Stafford's ideas of analogies. I'm just thinking that, well, stars are born and they die. So before the star is born, you've got these gases that sort of slowly accumulate with gravity. And things start to get pulled in, and gravity inexorably starts to bring things together. And then at some point you just have, you get ignition. And bang, that's light. There's your sun or your star. That's what, maybe the analogy is that we're the amorphous gases. All slowly, things starts to accrete, and then at some point, bang, we get this knowledge, and we're like the star that suddenly illumines, and we go, right, okay, I've got it. So maybe it's a bit more like that. But even so, I mean, before the star ignites and forms a star, there's still something there that's not a light, but it's there, and then behind that is Brahman.
Because what was matter in its different states.
Yeah, just a sort of a gas.
Gaseous, whatever
gases,
it is.
yeah.
It's all, for all purpose, it's matter.
Yes.
It's matter. It has already deteriorated from the original state. It has already got condensed into gas. So spirit is something very, very subtle, very, very, very fine, beyond our understanding. But we can be. For the explanation, in order to explain something, you cannot give the complete example, thorough example you cannot give, because that will become a reality. When we give an example, it will not be very accurate. But the purpose of example is just to make us understand what it is. The example and the reality are not two different things. So the example will not completely help you.
It's an aid.
It's an aid to
so it gets-
understand.
What gets you onto the path a bit better.
It's just an understand. And other things that you have to intuit it. Making use of this, work on yourself, and here's the reality. Just like a fruit in your hand, it'll be. Then all doubts is cleared because I see it, I feel it. Once I eat a chili and know that chilies are hot, let anybody tell me anything. Chilies are sweet and chilies are this, that. I know chilies are hot. So it's like that. I know what I am, truly. Let anybody tell anything, whatever it is. I know that I am pure, infinite, immortal bliss. This is what we want. And the scriptures are there to help us. They give us the line pairs.
Namaste. You were talking about motivation to answer the previous question. And what we find as a practical problem is that, especially in societies like the Western societies, where this is the highest knowledge that you have imparted. And there are very few examples. There is not much company to be able to dwell in it, except like these occasions. If you look out, there is hardly any light. Whereas in India and all, there is more of it. You get more company, more spiritual experiences. You meet more enlightened people. But when we look out here, all you see is pubs and,
That's
very
all
dim.
right.
There is no light. So how do you survive in such a context and maintain this highest state?
Look, as far as this was a 20, 30 or 40 years back, this was okay. Now it's throughout the world, it is the same. India is no less, India has no less pubs than what we have here. It is everywhere. But what happens? No, I understand. But one thing is that's also true. It is in the very air of the country. It is there. It doesn't take much difficulty to convince a person. But here it takes. It does. It does take. But now we have got a lot of opportunities. With the technology, we are always in. Choice is ours. What we want to see, what we want to hear is our choice. Everything is available. Now we have no problem. We have got satsang always. It is there. But it only depends upon what our choices are, how much we can give time for it, and above all, our priorities. That is why always we should fix our priorities in a very young age so that we can shape our life and give completely to it. Nothing is late. Even at the last moment, there are many cases where people have got wonderful ideas and with that they have passed out of the world with that light. So no time is a delay and no situation is bad. Everything is all right. We can do it. And especially with the blessings of technology. I always bless technology. See, we are seated at the bottom of the earth, Australia. And we are always in contact with Sharada Math. And today they have got the Jagadhatri Puja. We will go and witness it without going to India with all the travel and all. See, this is a river of Atman is there. So sitting at home, we have the blessings of the Divine Mother. So this is the opportunity. Now at present, especially if Swamiji was there, he would have been very, very happy. The way we are progressing, he would have been very happy. Because now those days you had to go to the forest, you have to go to the mountains and then see a yogi. And in the last century, Sri Ramakrishna was in the city. How few got him? And many of them said, yeah, madman. So when the time comes, everything is available. And now we have no complaints. With technology, we have got all the blessings. We can remain in Tirupati, we can remain in Kedar, wherever we want, we can go and stay. Because where our thoughts are, there we are, isn't it? We can sit here and pose ourselves meditating, and I can go to London and have see the be on the Thames River. Nobody will know. Only I will know. So where my thoughts are, I am there. So if our thoughts are there in this place, we can make use of it. Bless the technology. Yes.
Well, I've just on this point, speaking from experience, 45 years ago, when I started delving into meditation, you didn't even talk about it to friends or family here. You kept it very quiet because I had cousins who were afraid of me because I was trying to do that. I had others who thought you're an idiot or gullible. And now we've come so far here and throughout the West. There's now an Australian Meditation Association, which is like a peak body with its code of ethics and seriously studying meditation in a scientific way. And as we know, meditation is so prevalent, being prescribed by doctors. It's just so mainstream. So we have come a long way, but there's a long way to go. We have come a long way.
This is also true. But this is also true in India. Go to any gully, any lane, you have a temple there. That is there. That we cannot help it. When so many advantages are here for us, this little bit, we can do it otherwise also. We can do it. So we are happy with that. Yeah. Jacinta has a question.
Hari Om Mataji. I just wanted if you could explain with the example how like a real life example, how we can understand detachment and indifference in a situational manner. If you could just explain, because you said that detachment is knowledge, whereas indifference is ignorance.
Yes.
So if you could just explain with an example in real life or a situation.
Yeah, detachment, I said, is a higher state of mind. When people don't generally get detachment by themselves, hard blows teach detachment. Hard blows only teach us the detachment. So the example the Mundaka Upanishad says, the bird eats the bitter fruits, sweet fruits. When it eats the bitterest fruit, then no more, keeps away. So that is, and then it gets detachment. It says, no, I will not go for it. So this sort of detachment. So the experience has taught it. But that this is not correct, that I keep away from it. This sort of detachment came through maturity, through life's experience, it comes. But whereas indifferent, it's brutish. It's hard. And people talk. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, people talk about doing good to the world. But the neighbor is suffering, the neighbor doesn't have to eat, and it's so difficult to give a handful of rice. I'm talking about not to today's India, I'm talking 100 years ago India. So don't want to give because hard-earned money, I can't spare it. So that, and I don't mind seeing the poor born, what can we do? Is there karma? The beautiful example, Swamiji's life. A man came, when Swamiji came from England, came and he wanted the donation from Swamiji for his organization. What was his organization? They were looking after the old cows, old dilapidated, cows which do not yield milk and which will be butchered. So they were protecting these cows from the butchers. So for that, and they have been looked after. So it's an expense. So he came for the donation. Then the Swami asked, do you have a capital? Enough money in your... He said, yes, we have a handsome amount. So a few years ago back, a couple of years back, there was a drought. And so many people died. Government of India, British government, had brought out the data. And what did your organization do? Well, people die out of their karma. And our organization doesn't do for that. We care for the cows. So If human beings suffer and die of the drought and floods, that's the karma. And the cow going to a butcher's hand is not a karma. If this can be karma, it is the karma of the cow to go to the hands of the butcher. Let her go. I am not here to do for this. My duty as a human being is first I will look after my fellow men, human beings. And if there is anything sufficient, then I will pay for yours, not for that. Then turning the man was surprised. And then he said, no, the scriptures say cows are like our mothers. Swamiji said, yes, I very well understand. Who else will give birth to such a fools than a cow? The man's intelligence was nothing but like than the animal's intelligence. He says the men die because of their karma, and the cows have to be protected because they are mothers, Gomata. See how this was literally indifference and what do you call, even to say indifference was inhuman. I don't care for my fellow beings and I care for someone subhuman. I don't deny, I have nothing against animal lovers. I'm not telling in that way. But when we see our own fellow beings suffering, isn't it our primary duty to look after them, to serve them? And having the means, we ignore. So this is indifference. So such chances come to us where we lose our discrimination. If possible, we do. We don't ignore, we don't be indifferent. It needn't have to be monetarily. Somebody is in suffering. All a person needs is someone to listen, wants to empty. But have some time, give some space for the person just to hear. There is someone with whom I can pour out my feelings. People feel lonely. Loneliness is terrible. Ratan Tata's YouTube, you can see he has spoken about it. How dreadful and how, what do you call, torturing loneliness can be there. Especially when they don't have a spiritual idea. Once you have spiritual idea, you are self-sufficient. You are a super person, Superman. You have got that power because the Atmabalam, Bahubalam, Buddhibalam, Atmabalam. So you are standing on the Atmabalam, on the strength of the Atman. I am the indestructible. I pervade everywhere. I am in every being. What do I need a company? So you are not afraid of loneliness and you appreciate your aloneness. There are two different things there. Aloneness is different from loneliness. Loneliness is painful. Aloneness, you revel in it. You enjoy your aloneness. You know? Until unless we have the capacity to face our mind, to rebuke it, and make it think what I want to think, aloneness is wonderful. If not, it is loneliness. So this is how we can be, we needn't have to take all the what the person is telling you. The person may say so many things which you never even had in your stock, and some new dirt may be coming. So you can be detached, at the same time be sympathetic, be kind. So we can do all this sort of things. We can do many things, and we do it. We'll do it consciously. Then that will help us. Doing something unconsciously, it does, but it will not yield so much result as when we do it consciously. That's how it can do. Yeah, I suppose. Oh.
Just put a clarification. The good Lord resides everywhere, so therefore the Lord is in animals as well as in people. So to not care for animals, I think, is not right. But if it's you care for the cows and don't care about people, well, that's
what I told you. I'm not saying that we shouldn't care the animals. No,
it's caring about all things.
All things.
That makes more sense.
Then ignoring the man.
Yes, that's not right.
That's not right.
No.
That's what the Swamiji said. You had the means, you had the capital with you, you have the money, and you don't want to use it at the time of the need.
Yes.
And you say, we don't deal with those things. We only care for the cows. It
I
is,
mean, to excuse the suffering of the people, just look after
you,
some
you,
cows.
you can use Vedanta and karma to your side.
Yep.
That is why the helpful reasoning. Reasoning should be consistent.
I think in some ways, personally, for me, I find it easier to care for animals because of the atrocities that I see people committing. So that kind of makes it harder for me. It doesn't mean that it's not, you know, you still care for people, but I just find it more difficult given some of the atrocities that they commit. Whereas animals generally are more or less affected by the atrocities of people, so I care more that way. But that's
a very good idea, but
that's just a personal thing.
all people are not atrocious.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And
it's just a
then
personal thing.
if you are a spiritual aspirant, if you are a karma yogi, you can't do that.
I know it's
Swamiji says, even if you are cheated 1,000 times, are you still ready to help?
Yep.
That is big. You can't pose yourself to be a karma yogi and be like that. No.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's harder, but I don't.
It's hard.
I mean, I
but
donate
for a
both ways.
spiritual aspect, so many people cheat. For example, just as I'm telling, in the Jairambati village, they had a dispensary for the poor people. Now, well-to-do people also used to, free medicine, free everything. Well-to-do people also used to come. So the secretary was feeling, why should they get? This is for poor people who can't afford. For them, this is open. And then these people are coming and taking. Unnecessarily, we are giving these people. Isn't that, we would have told, why are you coming here? You have got a lot of money. You better don't come. This is what we would have told. The person, he asked Holy Mother. And you know, she gave a beautiful, she explained, look, one who comes asking, you have to consider that person as poor. If someone asks, then that person is poor. A contented person would never ask. Even if he is poor, he wouldn't ask. I'm happy with whatever I have. But to ask itself is a beggary. You have to take it into account. So just give it. Holy Mother said, you cannot avoid, such things will happen. So we will not put everybody into the one category and say, yeah, but don't you help the humans because they do all sorts of things. Because we know it. And Swami Vivekananda's father, he knew these people are taking advantage of him and they drink and smoke him. And still they asked, he used to give money. And Narendra, at that time, young man, would say, why do you do that? These people are misusing your money. You are encouraging them to this. Then his father said, such a noble heart, man of heart, he said, if you know the suffering in the life, then you will sympathize with the man who is smoking him and trying to forget this misery. Life is full of suffering, my child. And because of that, you can ignore him. Not that he was promoting drugs and all that. Sometimes people go to it out of necessity. Suffering is there, just to want to forget. So let us keep a little bit sympathy for them also. Not everyone is doing it. So out of necessity, somebody may be doing evil. But we can't categorize them that these people are evildoers. So everything has, individually we have to analyze and see. Yes.
Namaste, Matsuji. Thank you. I've got a query about the word intuition. Understand it from a conventional kind of point of view. Can you explain it from the point of view of the scriptures and just the subtleties of it as well, like the different shades?
Intuition it's given to everybody. We all have this faculty. It is because intuition is nothing but pure buddhi. The intelligence, the pure intelligence is intuition. Now the intelligence is turned towards the world. The intellect has turned towards the world, and it is getting objective knowledge, objective analysis. Objectively, it's determining things. When it turns, when the understanding turns back, that is, we stop our senses and other things to go outwardly, and we start thinking that buddhi starts becoming clearer and clearer and becomes purer and purer. So pure that the light of the self, you can't even make out, just like Sri Ramakrishna says, the lantern. The light is there, and the lantern, if we haven't cleansed it for a long time, there is soot in it. when we start cleaning, the lantern is so clean, so clear. You feel as if you can touch it. But there is a abstraction, fine glass. So what happens is when the mind becomes purified, it comes over, what do you call, what is that singularity? Mataji used to say, point of singularity. Point of singularity. So that subtlety comes to the buddhi. Buddhi becomes subtle and it's capable of understanding the self. The self's light falls on it, and that is intuition. So it all amounts to this. We have to work on ourselves and make our body, mind, intellect receptive of this. So once it's cleared, and the impurities is only this, I and mine. I reduce it started from the empirical state. I and mine. I am here. I earn all this. These are my children. So all the money I give it, I keep it for my children. Don't know what they are going to do with it. And buy 4 houses and the children will go to America. And the money was, the house is left there. So instead, we try to do some charity, keep some money for the underprivileged, the less fortunate ones. So mine is reduced. To that extent, mine is reduced. I am there, but mine is reduced. So that way, that's a practice. Slowly, as we keep on, and intellectually also, the more we think about the Atman, the more we think of description by the Buddhi will become fine, and intuitive faculty one fine day. It's already 12:30, I suppose. We have finished.
Well, our thanks to Sridharaprana for guiding us through Sri Shankaracharya's Atmabodha, self-knowledge. We look forward to having some other monthly series next year, some other text we guided through. We have coming up this Friday night, the Bhagavad Gita discussion, the fortnightly discussion with Bhasyas. Next Sunday, it'll be the Sunday edition of the monthly Vedanta book club. And that'll be with discussion led by Gayatri Pranaji, continue exploring Pravrajika Pranaji's article on the restless mind. And there'll be a guided meditation as well. Just bear in mind, we are approaching the end of our regular Sunday talks. From 1st of December, we'll go into the summer recess. But every Sunday in December, apart from those Sundays when we have special celebrations of Holy Mother's birthday, Swamiji's birthday, every Sunday the nuns will be here from 11 a.m. to 12. We'll have some inspirational readings and some silent and guided meditations. So please keep that in mind over that summer break. We'll still be having some activities. So thanks for coming today in person, and thanks to those who joined us via Zoom.